Hello, happy you're here. I am having a bit of a try not to drown day. When it comes to chores and bits, I've got laundry coming out the ears, dishes are piling up. The living room, my God, the living room. My kids just got a brand new bag of like 50 marbles and they are everywhere because the other day they decided to put them into boots, and then this morning I kicked over one of the boots and then the marbles just went everywhere. So I'm having one of those days where it's like, okay, I've got so much to do. Let's try not to burn out on it and let's try to catch up to everything. Let's just keep running on this hamster wheel of domestic labor. Okay, let's just get in and just run and hope that someday it will pay off. Will it be today? I don't know. I do have a little girls' date tonight with one of my friends, so we will be going on that a bit later. I think we're going to Bull Moose. If we get to like peruse the bookstore, she's like, hey, do you want to walk around Bull Moose? I was like, yeah, I always want to walk around Bull Moose. So I'm super excited about that because I want to get into reading some physical copybooks. I've not actually managed to finish any books yet for February, so it would be nice to try to like jumpstart something, try to get something done, you know? I'm about to make some lunch for Poppy and I've started out my morning like a little rubbed the wrong way at school drop-off this morning. And all I'm gonna say is, if you think that like the tiny little things that you teach your kids or that you've learned in childhood doesn't affect you in adult life, it so does. It so does. There is nobody walking this earth that is not somehow impacted by their childhood growing up. And if they are not, then they've been in 7 days a week therapy for the last 15 years. Like, there's no way that parts of your childhood, what things that have happened or did not happen to you in your like most vulnerable years, that stuff affects you. And if you think it doesn't, that's wild. That's wild thinking. I could just be looking too far into this thing, and I get that, but I don't know, it's just, I hope that whatever things that are impacting my kids now in childhood are positive in adulthood, and they don't create people pleasers who break themselves in half to make other people feel happy. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't want to like get into the details of what happened. I'm sure my face was like grumpy enough, and it wasn't a huge deal. It was not a huge event, but just those small things that you say to young kids or make them do affects them later. And I hope that if anything else, my kids do not become people pleasers to the point where it's detrimental to themselves for the only purpose of making somebody else happy when that thing makes you sad. That's all. That's it. There's that vague thing for this morning. I don't want to feel like I don't want to be judgmental about the thing, because I understand that you also want your kids to be empathetic towards other people's feelings. And I think that that line between empathy and set myself on fire to make other people warm can be very, very thin. And I'm sure this one event is not gonna topple it one way or the other. And I'm not perfect. Well, we're really starting this vlog off like maybe a little too hard on the paint, but I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of things that afterwards I go, I need to stop that. That needs to be better. I need to work on this. And like, I know, we all do, right? We all got those things that we're working on, especially as parents. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. We're all just out here doing our best, hopefully trying to be better every day. You wanna eat? I know, I'm making the pan warm. Do you wanna get the burgers out? Get them out of the freezer? Yeah. Hello, Mulligan. I have already fed you this morning. All right, so what I've got here is just what I call a hamburger salad. So instead of like a bun, I've got like all of this extra lettuce that I bought when I made hamburgers a couple days ago. And if I don't use up the lettuce, it's gonna go bad. So my plan to use it up is to just make a salad, but still make a burger, but just without the bread. So the thing that really puts it over the top is that there are pickles on it. And then I have just like chunked up the burger. This is a Beyond meat burger patty, like frozen ones, and then putting them right on there. Cheeseburger salad. There would be some onion on it, but I ended up using all of the onion up last night when I made some chili. So this is what we got. You want me to sit with you? Yeah, okay. Oh, right here? Right here. Right here. Sorry, my camera died, but this is the finished project. This is the Lion brand off the hook yarn. I wouldn't say that I loved this project, but I do want to get into more craft kits, like stuff like this and stuff like this that's been sat on my counter where I can see it and I just haven't really gotten around to it. But things that are just very straightforward, here's the instructions, no thinking involved, but you still get to feel like you're doing crafty bits. I don't think that I cast off the way that they wanted me to. I had to search online for the video on like how many loops do you count before you start your project and stuff like that. I got this at a salvage store, and I mean, regardless.
I need a towel.
You need a paper towel. I wish that the paper that came around the yarn was a little bit clearer about how to do it without having to go find a video of it on YouTube. Obviously, I still haven't woven in any ends. Like, you're meant to come through and like you could cut the loops. Like there's a little string in the middle that's holding the loops together and you just cut those. Not my favorite. This took me about 40 minutes, I would say. Like I had a couple mess ups. So with all that, it took me about 40 minutes, which is good for a craft to do while I'm sat with my kiddos. So they were doing their own little activities while I did this. So that was nice, but I did have like the fear of like, okay, let's get this thing done because I also need to start dinner, get everything ready so I can go. Like I need to leave in like 50 minutes and also like switch over some laundry and stuff. So I want to use this as like Valentine's Day decor, so I do need to weave in the ends, find a way to hold this up, and then maybe keep it from curling somehow because it is curling on the sides. Overall, I'm glad that I tried it. It was only $1 at the salvage store, so that was nice. If I actually had the things I needed to like block stuff, then that would probably also be helpful to like actually do some blocking or something with it. Who's ready for a book haul? She's hefty. This bag is really heavy. Had a great time out with Molly last night. Whenever Molly and I get together, the instant we get together, I went and picked her up. She got in the car and the first 20 minutes is just chaotic babbling. Like none of it makes sense. It's like a string of inside jokes and voices and just absolute silliness. So I didn't end up recording anything. We did go to the bookstore and then we went out and ate Mexican food for dinner, and then we went and sat on her couch at her house, and it was just such a nice time. We had so much fun. It was perfect. It was everything it was meant to be. So had such a wonderful time. Now let's dig into some of these books. For all of this that I'm about to show you, I spent around $23. A lot of these were reduced, and then I also had some Bull Moose points, so I did manage to get a little bit more off than the original, like off. Let's start with the kiddo books that I got. So this book was 50 cents. It's called Red Day, Green Day by Edith Cunhart. and pictures by Marilyn Hafner. And I'm not exactly sure when this book was published. 92. And I did a quick little read through of this book when I was at home, and it looks like it's kind of like this kindergarten kid, and every day is a different color, so they have to like bring in something of that color. So it just goes through the rainbow, and then it ends with him making a drawing of all the colors of the rainbow after their different color days. So this was only 50 cents. This was in the 50-cent bin, so I grabbed that. And then the other kiddo book that I got was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw. This is by Jeff Kinney, and this is book 3 in the series. There's like a zillion of these at this point. They didn't have the first one. If they had the first one, I would have bought it. I used to own like up to 10, and I must have donated them forever ago. But Owen had watched the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, and I was like, that's a bigger book that he and I could read together. I could read to him, and it has the little doodle cartoons in it, and I don't think that it would take a super long time. I was reading the BFG to him, and while it does have some pictures in there, the story is a bit like longer, so it takes a lot more effort to really focus in on it, where this is a bit shorter because it's like early readers reading material. So I bought that for him, and that was $4.97. And then I got 2 holiday books out of the 50-cent bin. So 2 50-cent Christmas books. So we've got A Mrs. Miracle Christmas by Debbie McComber, which I read a Christmas book by her last Christmas, and it was a quick, easy read. I read it in a day. And then this one is Spirit of the Season by Fern Michaels. They were both 50 cents, and this is just for like that season time when I want to grab something and just finish it off in the weekend, or maybe a day, depending on what kind of laid back chill day it is, especially around that lull time between Christmas and New Year's, like just something that's still spirited but doesn't take up a lot of time, but it still has that like festive bit in that time. You know how that time frame kind of gets a little bogged down. All right, I got myself a YA novel because I like to have like books that I can just tear through. This is Simone Breaks All the Rules by Debbie Regard. So here's the cover. So it's about a teenage girl who grows up with Haitian immigrant parents, and she goes to an all-girls school, and she wants to go to prom, but they're gonna pick her date, a boy in another Haitian immigrant family, so that way they know them, they're able to like have that sort of control. But she has a crush on another kid, and so her and her friends are trying to go to prom and try to break some rules along the way. So we got that. That was $2.97. So we've got Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, which it sounds like they're on an island. There's some murder, there's rumors of murder, and it's like a beautiful place, but there's also some tension. So it says on the back, with its island gothic sensibility, sexy suspense, and spine-tingling reimagining of an Agatha Christie classic, Reckless Girls will wreck you. So I thought that could be like kind of fun, flirty, mysterious, maybe a little scary, who knows? And that book was $7.97. I think this was the most expensive book that I bought on this excursion. And there was another book that I wanted to buy, but it was like a bit expensive, and I wanted to check the Kindle or the library first before I like really committed to a $14 book, which sounds wild, but I can't remember what it was called, but I did take a video of it because I wanted to remember it. But anyway, I've got Secrets in the Summer by Nancy Thayer. So this is set in Nantucket. This woman, she gets a divorce, she goes and like inherits her grandmother's beach house, and it's springtime, so all of the tourists are starting to come in, but then her ex-husband is also there with his new wife and his stepdaughter, and she's kind of having this flingy thing with a carpenter, but she's also got a crush on a vacationer, so it's like a who will she choose type of thing. And this is an adult lady, so she's in her 30s, which is also nice. I like to mix it up. Like, I understand that some people are like, why are you reading a YA novel? Like, I picked one out on purpose, but sometimes you just want that like quick little read and just kind of like tap into that person who fell in love with reading in the first place, which I think for me was really in high school. Like from that like 14, 17 space is when I really got into like, I don't know, more of what I loved to read. Like, don't get me wrong, when I was little, I was tearing up Junie B. Jones. I read like all of those out of the library, but I think when I really fell in love with reading was between 14 and 17. So sometimes I like to like dig back into those YAs for that reason. All right, and then the last two I think are the books that I am most excited to read. So we have The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, and I got this one for $2.97. So I'm gonna guess like an early 20-ish something witch. So she's described as a young witch, so I'm gonna guess like 20s-ish. She gets broken up with, and then she's drinking and listening to weepy music and like taking bubble baths and just like sitting in her sad girl era. And then she decides to put a curse on her horrible boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, like whoever just broke her heart. And then something goes wrong and awry, and now she's got to try to figure out how to take it off of him. And there's a ghost and a cat that can talk, so that is just like kind of like reading off the dust jacket a little bit, reading the little blurb about it. I don't want to like go through and read all the blurbs because I think I've got too many books to try to read the blurb to you. So I got that. I thought that would be really fun. And then finally, I've got this one. It's called Outlawed by Anna North. This one was also $2.97, and I just loved some of the descriptors, like the little blurbs that other people said about it. The one that really caught my eye says, "I am dazzled by this feminist western set in an alternate past all too similar to our today. Outlawed is terrifying, wise, tender, and thrilling." So the premise is that she was young, she married young, and she lives in a place that barren women are seen as witches. So she's unable to conceive, and so she has to go on the run, and she joins like this other gang of outlaws. And there's a line in here in the descriptive blurb that says, "Ada must decide whether she's willing to risk her life for the possibility of a new kind of future for them all." So definitely these two are the ones I'm most excited to get to reading. I don't know if I'll start with them because I think I want to start with something that I think I could breeze through, like Simone Breaks All the Rules, but I'm so excited. I only spent $23 on all of these books. I am looking forward to reading some physical copy books, and the potential and planning to get some bookshelves in here and actually display and put my books up anywhere would be great. So tell me, which of these books piqued your interest the most? And maybe that one will get bumped up to the top of my reading list. But I'm so excited, especially with these 5, to get to reading these. So while I was at Molly's, she pulled out a cat's cradle string, which if you're like 30s, 40s, you know what cat's cradle is. But so I've just like got some yarn real quick. So we played cat's cradle, which I obviously can't play now because I don't have anybody here to play with me. But I remember being like in middle school, so like 9, 10, 11, maybe even 12. I got like a cat's cradle like little kit, and in it they had like these different things that you could make with it, and I have not thought about that for years, but I sat on the floor in my bedroom with my cat's cradle kit and instruction book on how to make like different little designs using the string and doing things like that. So Molly hands me this thing. I was like, okay, let's see what I can remember. What can I make with it? And I just really let my muscle memory take over with this thing. And the thing I wanted to like get to the most was Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder was like one of the hardest ones to make and to do. I made a knot in this yarn, hold on. And before we get too much, yes, I know Jacob's Ladder has like another meaning, but not in this case. So literally I was trying and trying at Molly's house, just trying to let my muscle memory take over, let my childhood like just be the one to really guide the way, and then finally figured it out, I got it, and it was like, I don't even know. Like the second I actually like hit it, Molly and I like freaked out. Like, oh my god, like, ah, like I just hit this like old like string trick from the 90s, and I was just so impressed that my muscle memory just took the lead and made it happen. It was just such a good night because of it. Like it was really fun, especially just to whip out some cat's cradle. I can't tell you how many hours I just sat in my bedroom playing with a piece of string. It's Super Bowl Sunday. We're gonna have our friends Bradwin and Alexa over tonight. Dave planned this out yesterday. Dave went out last night and picked up a bunch of snacky bits, and now we got a whirlwind clean. I'm gonna go to the gym at some point when Dave comes home. Mama. Sweetheart.
I know.
You have those over there. Nope, you don't need the bag. You have some over there on the side table.
I don't.
You don't need those. You have some on the side table.
No.
Yes, over there. Now it's having to battle the kids off of all the new snacks until our company is here. Everything is like torn apart. Like everything needs to be cleaned today before they end up coming over. So we'll do the living room, the dining room. I need to clear the bar off so that way we have place to put all the snacks. And yeah, we just gotta do a quick little tidy bit. The show of the weekend has been Molly of Denali, which I do really love for my kiddos. I love that they love watching PBS. We're watching Molly of Denali. Really cute. If you haven't ever checked it out, it is great. We love Molly of Denali. So I've decided to start the day. I mean, honestly, I slept in as late as I could because Pop was just awake for like 2.5 hours last night and just wanted me to lay with her. Like she wasn't crying or anything. She was just awake, and she would just lay next to me and then she would poke me, talk to me, jump on me, and I just could not sleep. And it's been really hard the last couple of days because I've just felt exhausted. So I'm trying really hard to not feel so exhausted. But I've put on my gym clothes so that way when Dave gets home, I can go out and go to the gym before our friends get here, which would be great. Also, an early enough gym session so that way I can come home and shower. All of this is getting out of control. I've got to tell you about something that happened to me yesterday, which is absolutely wild, which has never ever happened to me before. It just blew my mind. So it's been a couple days for me since I recorded the last clip, I think when I was talking about Cat's Cradle. And so yesterday I decided that I wanted to have just like a little vegetable snack. So I just made myself like a little veggie tray. It had carrots and cucumbers and some celery on it. And I don't usually eat like celery. It's not really that tasty to me, but I did have celery in the fridge because of making chili. So I wanted to just use it up. And you know, it's good for you and I can like get through it. We had some dip with it. So we're just kind of trying to get through that celery without it going bad, because I feel like every time I buy vegetables, they go bad. They go bad because I forget about them, or I think to myself, oh, I'll get that later, or I'll do that for a snack, and then I just never do. I just never get around to it. There I am, just sitting with my kids, like eating some veggies. We're just kind of chit-chatting, getting through this damn celery. And then I go like this, like that, with some celery in my mouth, and I feel it go into the back of my throat. You know, you have something like goes back and hits you in the back of the throat. Well, that happened with the celery, except for it went up my throat and not down my throat. It went back, and when I went like this, I like shot a piece of celery up into like my nasal cavities, like the back of my nasal cavities in the back of my throat. And it just felt so awful. It felt like a sharp post-nasal drip. Like just, and I could just feel this piece of celery just stuck up my nose. But from having eaten it, I was like, oh my god, this thing is gonna like rot in my throat. I'm gonna have to go to the ER to like go get some celery out of my throat. I was like, this is gonna be the dumbest reason ever. to have to like stroll in, or I could just try to let my body force it out, but it was like in such a way that like I couldn't do, you know how you can go and like kind of drive stuff back down the end of back of your throat. I tried that, nothing was working. I was like, oh my gosh, is this something that I should just wait a minute, wait like a day or something, see what happens, see if it'll just get itself out and like sort itself out, because I don't want to pay money for whatever they'll have to do to get the celery out of my nasal cavity. Like, hello? What? After going to the bathroom, looking in the mirror and realizing I can't see this thing, but I know it's up. I know it must be up. So I come upstairs and I use my neti pot. I love my neti pot. If you've never used a neti pot before, it's not that scary. But I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can flush this thing out. So I'm up here, neti potting myself, getting that water going through, and then I go like this, and I kind of like let it drop because like nothing's coming out. And I feel this piece of celery come out of my nostrils. So the water must have gone down through and then like grabbed it, coming back out that same side. It was such a weird feeling. And when I tell you the size of this thing, I was like, what just happened? I'm so scared to eat celery now. I'm gonna show it to you now. I'm gonna show you how big this celery was. Q-tip for reference on how big this piece of food was that went up and lodged itself into my nasal cavity from inside of my mouth. Ridiculous, wild. I hope that never ever happens to me again. That was awful. I almost turned my camera on to talk about it when it happened to me yesterday, but I was like, I'm taking the day off right now from recording. We'll tell them tomorrow. This is too frantic, too much to cover right now. Why you butchered that? Brad and Alexa have come and gone. We've eaten pizza, some bad wings.
Terrible.
We're on Team Taylor, obviously. The one regret so far is not having watched this on Nickelodeon, honestly. The Nickelodeon looks so unserious and so fun and just absolutely silly, but that's not the route we went. We went the regular grown-ups football route. It feels like both teams remembered how to play by the time the fourth quarter has rolled around. I don't care about football, but my adrenaline is so high. My heart feels like it's beating out of my chest, and my legs have fallen asleep from the rush of adrenaline. Oh god. Oh god. Oh my god.
Oh, 36 seconds.
Oh my gosh. I can't. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Taylor Swift wins!